The moment everything changed. June 23rd, 1941. A dirt road east of Brest-Litovsk.
Dawn.
The sky is still bruised purple when the 1st German Panzer III rumbles forward, its tracks grinding over broken Soviet equipment scattered across the fields. The air smells of burnt rubber and damp wheat. Somewhere on the horizon, artillery thumps like a heartbeat. Inside the turret, Oberfeldwebel Karl Becker, a confident veteran of Poland and France, wipes condensation from his gun sight. They've been rolling for 2 days straight, and so far, the enemy has been exactly what Berlin promised. Outdated tanks, thin armor, slow guns, no challenge. Outside, soldiers ride on the hull, laughing openly as they pass the blackened hull of AT-26. One crewman taps it with his boot and shouts, "If this is the Red Army's best, we'll be in Moscow by August." Another roar of laughter. It's the arrogance of momentum, and the certainty that German engineering is unmatched on Earth. You can almost feel the vibration inside Becker's chest as his tank climbs a small rise. The engine growls. His gunner, Hans, hums a marching tune. The crew is relaxed, cocky, unstoppable. But then Becker notices something strange. A distant shape on the far ridge, broad, low, almost predatory. "Hold," Becker orders, peering through the optics again. Not a BT-7. Not AT-26. Something bigger.
Different.
But the light is poor. The silhouette is unfamiliar. Before he can speak again, a Soviet shell screams across the open field and slams into the side of a Panzer 30 meters to their right. A bright flash, then smoke. Becker freezes. That gunfire didn't sound like anything they'd heard yet. Not the weak crack of the 45 millimeters. This was deeper, angrier. Radio chatter explodes in Becker's headphones. Unidentified tank. Heavy armor. Repeat, heavy armor. Hans swallows hard. "Sir, what is that thing?" Another German tank fires. The shell ricochets off the unknown silhouette and spins into the air like a thrown coin. A direct hit, and the enemy didn't even flinch. Becker feels the hairs on his arm rise. His mind races through every intelligence briefing he'd memorized. Nothing matches that shape, that armor, that resilience. The thing on the ridge turns slightly, angling its turret like an animal noticing prey. Sunlight catches its armor, sloped, thick, impossibly modern. For the first time since the invasion began, Becker's confidence cracks. "God in heaven," he whispers. What have the Russians built? The ridge erupts with engine growls, more of them. One shape becomes 3. 3 becomes 5. A brand new Soviet machine, unlike anything the Germans expected, is rolling straight toward them, and Becker still has no idea how to kill it. And then the radio operator shouts the name that will haunt the Wehrmacht for years to come. T-34. Becker grips the turret ring, breath tight, as the first wave of Soviet armor begins its thunderous charge. What happens in the next 5 minutes will rewrite everything Germany believes about the Eastern Front. The first clash. The ground vibrates before the sound reaches them. A deep, rolling tremor as the Soviet formation picks up speed. Dust plumes rise behind the advancing shapes, turning the sunrise into a copper haze. Becker leans into his periscope, heart thudding in his throat. You can almost hear his pulse over the engine. "Driver, pivot left. Gunner, load AP," he snaps. Hans slams a shell into the breech. The sharp metallic clack echoes inside the cramped turret. The Panzer III swings toward the oncoming monsters, its narrow tracks groaning in protest. Becker steadies himself. Target the lead tank. Aim low, try the tracks. Hans draws a controlled breath, squeezes the trigger, and
boom.
The recoil shudders through the turret. Becker watches the round streak across the field and smash into the T-34's left track. But again, impossibly, the Soviet tank barely reacts. It keeps coming like a charging animal shaking off a pebble. Then the T-34 answers. A flash from its long 76mm gun. A violent crack splits the air. The shell punches straight through a Panzer IV ahead of them. A Panzer IV, supposedly Germany's best. Flames burst from its hatches as the crew inside screams for only a second before going silent. Hans's voice falters. "Sir, that was at 800 meters. Becker forces his mind to stay sharp. "Reload. Driver, reverse. Keep distance." But it's already too late. The Soviets are closing the gap with terrifying speed. Their engines roar like metal beasts let off a leash. Machine gun fire rattles across the German line as infantry scramble for cover, some firing uselessly at the thick Soviet hulls. A T-34 cuts hard to the right, slashing across Becker's field of view. Its sloped armor gleams, angled in a way that deflects shells without effort. No tank on Earth looks like this. Not British, not French, not German. It feels alien. For the Germans, it also feels like the future, and they are trapped in the past. "Fire again," Becker barks. Hans does, this time hitting the turret ring, sparks flying where steel meets steel. The T-34 wobbles for half a second, then keeps advancing. Becker's stomach drops. The Soviet tank doesn't slow, doesn't hesitate, doesn't acknowledge the hits. Instead, it turns its massive cannon directly toward Becker's Panzer III. He feels the air leave his lungs. Hard right, hard right. Now he roars. The driver slams the steering levers. The world outside jerks violently, mud spraying, tracks grinding, the Panzer skidding sideways. Then, a Soviet shell slams into the earth exactly where Becker's tank had been a heartbeat earlier. The explosion rocks the field, showering the hull with dirt and stones. The concussion rattles Becker's teeth. Hans grips the loader's handle with white-knuckled terror. They're tearing us apart, but Becker isn't listening, because as the battlefield unfolds, he sees something even worse. More Soviet armor pouring through the tree line behind the first wave. Dozens. T-34s mixed with the heavier KV-1s, giants the Germans have never even seen before. The Red Army isn't collapsing. It's awakening. The Germans came expecting a weak, outdated enemy. Instead, they've kicked open the gate of a sleeping giant. And that giant is now fully awake. Becker exhales, barely a whisper. "We're not fighting the Russia we were promised." He presses his headset tighter. "Command, we need reinforcements. Immediate reinforcements." Static answers him. The radio is chaos. And in that chaos, the Soviets keep coming. The collapse of certainty. The battlefield is now a storm of steel and screams. German lines, once confident and orderly, buckle under the sudden weight of the Soviet assault. Smoke hangs low, thick enough to taste, carrying that bitter mix of burning oil and scorched earth. The sun is up now, but its light only reveals the scale of the disaster unfolding. Becker steadies himself against the turret wall as his driver wrestles the Panzer backward through the churned mud. "Keep moving. Keep us angled. Don't give them a flat shot." Hans is already loading again, sweat dripping from his jawline despite the cold morning air. "You want another AP, sir? We need something that can work," Becker snaps, though deep down he knows the truth. Nothing they carry can reliably penetrate a T-34 from the front. A Panzer Jogger I on their left fires its 47mm checkmate gun. The projectile sparkles uselessly off sloped Soviet armor. The small tank destroyer tries to reposition, but a KV-1 lumbers into view, enormous and silent like a moving fortress. One shot from its 76mm gun, and the Panzer Jogger erupts in a bloom of fire, its thin armor peeling away like tin foil. Infantry sprint past Becker's reversing tank, some firing at the treads of the T-34s, others simply running, dropping rifles in the grass. Their officers shout for them to hold the line. No one listens. The Red Army tanks crash through the wheat field with the unstoppable rhythm of a drumbeat. Each impact of their tracks crushes the earth deeper. They move not like vehicles, but like inevitability. Becker forces himself to focus. "Driver, back into that tree line. We'll use the brush for concealment." Panzer III jerks hard, smashing branches aside as it slips into the shadows. The moment they're under cover, Becker climbs halfway out of the turret, binoculars up. What he sees steals his breath. Soviet tanks are overrunning the forward positions. German anti-tank gunners are abandoning their 37mm pack guns, door knockers, soldiers already call them, after watching shell after shell bounce off Soviet armor like raindrops on stone. One gun crew tries a last desperate tactic, sliding an explosive charge beneath a T-34. The tank simply rolls over them, a scream cut short by metal and dirt. The Germans had been told the Red Army was weak, disorganized, primitive. But here, in this moment, Becker sees the lie unravel. These machines are not primitive. They're superior. Suddenly, a voice crackles on the radio. Clipped, tense, unmistakably panicked. All panzer units, fall back to secondary line. Fall back. Do not engage frontally. Another voice interrupts, frantic. Our shells are useless. They're tearing through the left flank. A third voice screams something unintelligible before the line goes dead. Hans looks up from the loader's seat, face pale. They're saying the T-34 armor is sloped intentionally, like it was built to deflect everything. Becker swallows hard. He'd noticed it too. All his training, all German doctrine, all the pride in their engineering, none of it accounted for this tank. A masterpiece, created by a nation the Germans were told could barely keep its soldiers fed. And suddenly, the truth is unavoidable. The Soviets have outdesigned the Reich. Another explosion shakes the forest floor. A T-34 has spotted them, pivoting toward their position, engine roaring as it pushes through the underbrush. Branches snap, small trees bend under its weight. It's coming straight for them. Becker's voice drops to a whisper. Driver, get us out. Now. But before they can move, the T-34 crashes through the tree line, only 50 meters away. Close enough for Becker to see the dent marks from dozens of German rounds. Close enough to see the red star on the turret. Close enough to watch the gun begin to turn toward them. Hans freezes. The driver hesitates. And Becker finally understands. This is not just an enemy tank. This is the moment Germany's armored supremacy dies. He slams his fist into the turret ring. Move! The driver jolts into action. But the T-34's gun is already lining up the shot that changed everything. The forest seems to hold its breath. Becker watches the T-34's massive gun swing toward them, slow and deliberate, like a predator savoring the moment before the kill. The Panzer III's engine growls as the driver yanks the levers, trying to wrench the tank into a turn. But the mud is thick, the tracks slip, and the German machine feels suddenly ancient, underpowered, fragile. Faster. Becker barks, though he knows the driver is already pushing the engine to its limits. Hans has a shell halfway to the breach. Sir, should I fire? Yes. Anything. Fire. The Panzer III's gun barks. The shell slams into the T-34 at almost point-blank range, and skitters off the angled hull like a stone skipping across